Welcome everybody. We're just waiting for the YouTube feed to start.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to webinar number 15. Today's topic, we're actually going to cover how to connect to your CS3 either through your network or wirelessly. So let's see. Do we have any kind of news that we want to report before we kick in to the meeting?
Do you want to take on the topic of the turntable right off the bat?
No, because let's let our viewers kind of kick in with questions when we get to that. So let's wait off. Let's go on topic first. So today is just basically you need to be able to, we get a lot of repeat questions. Guys can't connect to their CS3s wirelessly, or they're using their iPads, or we just kind of figured we're going to cover everything, because once you connect your CS3 to your network, as long as you have a wireless network at home, then you can connect to your CS3 wirelessly. So the first thing that we need to establish is, we have networks at home. You have a modem, or which is basically what allows you to connect to the internet. And typical modems that you get from your service provider usually have a router connected to it, or built into the same unit, or you can purchase a separate router. So in my hand is just common router here. And again, this is when you have a local network. Now on the back here, you can see you have a WAN port, a WAN port in short is what they call it. And this is actually the only plug that connects sort of to the modem or to the internet, to external sources. Over here is usually a grouping of 4. Sometimes if you have a node unit, it may only have a few of those, but what you're looking for is, it's known as a LAN port, an LAN port. Also means a local area network, and you are going to plug your CS3 into one of these ports. And you can see, I have antennas, so this is a wireless router. But people think that you can just go wirelessly at the CS3. Well, the CS3 doesn't have any wireless technology built into it, so you do have to go through a network device, a router device. This other unit that I'm going to show here, this is actually a wireless extender. So for those of you who, it's inconvenient to wire to your CS3, from your CS3 to your home network or your router, because it's in a different area. But you can actually connect, in some cases like that previous router, to network with your existing router. Or, you can do something like this, which is a range extender. It's got its antennas, plugs into the wall, and it actually has just a single port that you can plug your CS3 into. So that's the hardware side of this that you need to have. So again, if we tell people all the time, you can use a cheap router if you just want to connect to your CS3 wirelessly. And it doesn't mean that the two networks that you're creating. So what happens is you're plugging the CS3 into this router. And if this router is not communicating with your home network, you're basically creating two networks. And because this is wireless, you can connect to this one and not have internet access. So there's two solutions to that. You can either network this to work with your home router, and don't call us up for that information. I would actually contact, one of your your networking people, or your internet service provider may be able to help you with that, because a lot of times you're trying to connect a separate router to your network. On the back of the CS3, oops, sorry, I've got a dangle of wires here. See if I can raise it up high enough. You're going to use this plug on the back of the CS3 to connect to that extender or your router. And that's essentially it. There's probably some questions that you guys may have, just trying to set that up, but it's pretty basic. You need a cable to connect to a device that you can connect to your network. The next thing that you want to do is once you have that plugged in, there is a specific starting order that you have to adhere to. In other words, you have to power up your router first, and then power up the CS3. And there's a reason for that, is because the way that a network connects to a device is the network needs to send what we call an IP number to the device that's connected to it. And if you start the CS3 first, it's never going to ask for that IP number from the router. And how you check this is that and let me share these screens, the first set of screens. The first thing you're going to do is, again, just make sure your network or your router is powered up, and then you start your CS3. And then the first things that you want to do is you need to get into your system settings, and you should all be familiar with this screen here. And if you are not, then I can pretty much tell you you're shutting down your CS3 unwisely. You should always use the shutdown procedure. So again, if you've never seen this screen, that just kind of tells me you've never shut down your CS3 right. So essentially, if you look over here, you have these icons on the left, and you have a downward arrow. Well, these are submenus to this CS3 panel. And what you need to do is you need to kind of scroll up and down in this area. And this is, right now, we're working on an unconnected CS3. So one thing you could do is you can close this panel by clicking on the triangle so that it looks like this screen here. You see how the triangles are pointing to the right? It just means that you have hidden the subpanels. And what you're looking for is you are now going to the settings Ethernet, right down here, second from the bottom. And you want to be sure that all these fields here, and it's okay if you leave it on auto DHCP, that just means it's retrieving the IP numbers automatically. And you want to be sure that all these fields right here, IP address, network, template, and IP gateway, have numbers in them. And there's one more field down below, which is a DNS server number, which is a lot of times it's the same as the gateway number. But if you have any blank fields in here, then you have most likely started up your CS3 first, and it's not communicating with the router. So you need to make sure all these numbers are filled. All these fields are filled with numbers. And the number that you want to make note of is the IP address, because this is the number you're going to use. Okay, and it's a series of 4 numbers, right? It's separated by dots. So typically this is 192.168.1.55. So that's what you're going to do to prep for it. You need to be able to communicate with your router. Okay, so the next step, let me just close that because now I don't need those windows. The next step you're going to do is you're going to open up a web browser, and we'll do this in 2 steps. I'm going to show you how we're going to connect on your PC or your computer browser, and then we'll actually go through how to connect using your tablet device. So let me open up a browser window here. Okay, I'll share the screen in a second, folks. Give me a minute. Okay. And we do have one question. Let's see what that is first. Oh, more of a comment, not a question.
Yeah, I already answered this question.
Okay.
This question was basically, can you use a tablet or smartphone if you only have a mobile station? And the answer is no.
Yeah, you cannot, because there's no way to connect your mobile station to a router. Okay, so let's go to our browser. And again, the number that I had previously was 192.168.1.55, but I am actually going to use another device or another central station 3, and its IP number. And up at the top, you can see where I'm going to type the IP number 192.168. And you can see there's an autofill information here, but we're going to actually use 2.5. And I don't need this.
Which is your central station in the other room.
Yeah, which is the central station in the other room. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come up to this screen here, and this is a license agreement. And, you know, you blah, 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 read, blah, 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 get down to the bottom of the page, and you click on the first, I have read these conditions, so on and so forth. Now, here's the other thing. You have a second stage of license agreements, and this, for especially tablet users, they get a little confused by this because you also need to scroll down to the bottom. But if you look at our scroll bars here on the right, there are two sets of scroll bars, and it kind of confuses some. I don't really recall how the display looks at on the tablet, but I will show you later. You can scroll down to this, which is a big long page, and it's really not going to get you anywhere. The information here is kind of fascinating. It's all in German, but we are only scrolling down on the internal panel of this page. You need to actually scroll down to the actual web page itself. So you have to understand that there are two levels that you can scroll down to see. I can do this and I can reveal this, and you can still see how there's inner panel scrolling.
That's where people get caught up.
Yeah, people don't understand that there's two levels of scrolling going on. This license agreement is in German as well. Well, you know, I don't know if it's technically a license agreement, so just kind of shows I've just ignored it and do it automatically. And there we go. We are actually connected to at least the interface. Now, there are two stages of control that you can use at this point. The upper right corner is the control button, which, you know, by default, you might want to use that first. This is primarily operational mode. So if I click on this, give it a chance for the CS3 to respond. Going through my network. Okay, and this is basically my layout. Okay, and again, this is operational mode. You do have some edit things available, like I can edit the trackboard page, article list. I believe at first, one time, you weren't actually able to see these edit screens. So I'm not really too sure what the logic is for changing it, but you know, it may benefit a lot of folks.
Go to locomotive. There you go.
Let's see if we can see. Actually, they opened up edit locomotive. So this was not actually available for a while. So I guess this would be a software update, folks.
Try it. See what one you can edit.
Yeah. So,
can you get into the configuration?
Well, this locomotive is not on track, so it's probably not going to work that way. So yeah, this is kind of a change. We do discover things here when we do it. Track boards. Let's see. Okay, so essentially this is your control menu. Let's return back. You know, you can operate everything here. I can stop the layout, start the layout. And I can kind of show you maybe some of this later, but let's go back to this control screen. The other method is you're going to click under the system icon here in the middle, and you're actually going to activate the CS3 to work as a server.
And this is where it gets a little advanced.
Okay.
We may lose a couple of you on this.
Okay, so there are instructions if you're going to do this. You do need to use the application that's called Real VNC Viewer. And let me sort of make this clear. You want to click on this link and use the VNC Viewer. What you don't want to do is you don't actually want to navigate to Real VNC, because there they're going to want you to sign up and then purchase an application. You don't need to. Click on the Real VNC Viewer and it's going to download or ask you to download an app. So here's the download page, and you just want to download the VNC Viewer. You don't have to buy the viewer. You don't have to subscribe to their service, okay? Because it is a service, but for the viewer, just use the viewer. Okay, and then I'll show you what the viewer looks like when we get it. I'm not going to reinstall it, obviously. So at this point, you're going to start the CS3 to act as a screen server, and you can just click on this and it just basically gives you a notice in German that the server started. You can also stop it from here. Okay, so this actually kills it as a server, but I'm going to go ahead and start it. And here's something that I've kind of realized, and I'll show you in a bit. At this point, once you start the server, you can actually close the browser. It's not necessary to leave it open, which, you know, previously we thought we had to leave it open, but I've actually closed it and it operates just fine. Let's go to, sorry, just make sure we're not getting any kind of chats through the server here. Let me change out to the real VNC viewer. Okay. Share screen, do share. Okay. Doing this without actually showing you my desktop. Can you see the VNC viewer? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So here's
yeah.
a VNC viewer window. This icon here in the upper left corner is basically the icon that you receive on your desktop. So you kind of know what it is. You won't see anything in this panel where you actually see this blue box here. So what you normally would do, and the reason why I left this here is just kind of show I've connected to this one before, and we're going to actually use this later in our presentation. But here we type in our IP number again, which is 192.168.1.25, and I can click on that. Now, once you activate this, and it's just going to make sure everything is okay. So I'm just going to click connect. Once you activate it, you can see it puts a little placeholder in that window, and that will always be there. So it's a quick way to get to it rather than having to type in the number again. So yeah, we're getting a tech call, folks. So we're not going to answer that because we're helping you folks. So let me actually go to the VNC screen. You guys have really good timing to call during our webinars.
Hello, this is Rick.
You might want to mute out, Rick. Okay, so you can see now it's pretty much almost the same screen. There is one extra icon up here, and again, we actually let's see. Let's do this. I'm going to actually bounce back and forth between the two control windows again. 192.168, so we can try to compare the two screens. So hopefully this won't lock up our system. Let me see if I can change the share window a bit here. Stop share. Let's see. Okay, we'll try it this way. All right, so now you have access to the full screen. So on the right, we have actually our web screen, the control button screen that we showed earlier.
You're just showing, you're not sharing your screen.
Is it not sharing? Oh, okay, hang on. I'll correct for that in a sec. Whoops. Share, sorry. Okay. All right. So now you can see it, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so on the right-hand side is the browser window. We're actually using the control button, and just to show you again, I'm clicking on this upper right control, and this is the screen here. So let's kind of compare the two screens if we can. Okay, so you can see we do have our edit window, we got our events window, we've got our view setup. We don't have access to the system or the, we don't have access to the system menu, which is sort of a change out. And I also don't see that we have access to the help menu on the right. which, you know, once you guys are experts at this, you won't need the help, right? So those are your two screens. And this is basically, you know, you're controlling this via your PC. And let's see if I can actually, I don't know if I can demo this here. I actually have a camera on the layout, but if I show the layout, you're not going to see anything. You're just going to, it's either one or the other. I don't think I can show both screens. So this is essentially how you are going, the two ways you can connect. It used to be before that you didn't have access to the edit features in the control button on the right. And then you could do everything here through the VNC viewer on the left. So be interesting to see how that all develops. Pretty much. So there we go. That's that. Now let's kind of go through the process of connecting using your mobile device. So I'll stop share here and let me go to my mobile device here on the side. Screen. All right, so you guys can see my iPad screen, right?
Yes.
Let me change to the app. Okay, so this is my browser here, and I'll type in my IP number.
You need to speak up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm facing away. So I need to type in my IP number here. Thanks. Hit go. And you have the same interface. So again, you want to go down to the bottom of the page, click the license agreement. Okay, and this might be a little challenge because right here, you see I'm not actually able to reach the bottom of the page.
Yeah, this is
So,
where people get caught up.
yeah, so you can't scroll with your finger. I'm actually scrolling with my finger on the text portion of the page, and that doesn't work. What you need to do is you need to go to the gray sidebars here and scroll up, and you see how that zoom bar moves on the right side now, whereas opposed if I use on the text, that line at the upper right corner of the white area is your scroll location. Okay, so you do need to go to the gray area and scroll to the bottom to access the license or the agreement. And then once you select that, then you can, you know, obviously you can use the control button. To access the screen. You do have, you know, your typical zoom in, zoom out function. The same thing applies for your iPhone users or your Android users. And we can actually see this. No locomotive. Let's pull up my locomotive lists. I do have. Let's see if I can do this in sort of a timely fashion here. Okay, I'll put this locomotive to the right, so I have control. I'll give it a slow amount of speed here. And then I'll change screens on you just to kind of see if anything's moving on the layout here. Locomotive could be going a little slow. Let's see if I can speed it up. I have too many control windows. Something's gonna crash here. My layout might need to be bumped. Let's see, am I in stop mode? Go. Let's try this. All right, track's probably dirty.
You have to go run in the other room and push it.
Yeah, who knows? That's always
That's a good way to run your layout from the other room.
Yeah, kick it over. Yeah, so you know it's got its bugs. Let's see what's going on. I'll depart for a second and check that out.
Okay, everybody, watch for him in the upper right-hand corner. Apparently he got lost, or the video, maybe the video is frozen.
Actually, the trains were moving.
Yeah, the video is frozen.
Yeah. So yeah, technology at its worst. It's the trains are moving, but the camera is not. So
Yeah, your
actually,
video is frozen
here you
because
go.
we
Let's
never
go
saw you
live.
go in. Oh, wait a
There you
minute.
go.
Maybe.
Okay. So you see,
Okay,
actually
yes. Yes.
have a train coming in there now. Just stop this one so it doesn't crash into the thing. You can kind of see it moving in there. It's grainy. You know, this is what you get when you use cheap surveillance cameras. Yep. So you can see it moving in. It's coming in at a slow pace. Probably it should stop as it's supposed to. Must have released the brake on it. So, anyways, there's your demo there. I'll go ahead and stop the train. There you go. I stopped it. And there you go. There you have it. Let's kill the share. Whoops, where's my Zoom window? Stop sharing. And that's pretty much it. Connecting to your CS3 either wirelessly or through your network. Basically, you are using the network to access your CS3 wirelessly. So, any questions? Doesn't seem to be. We can.
I've answered a couple of them.
Okay.
So,
All right. Great. So that pretty much covers our topic on that. We do have some other things that we can discuss. Is there anything you actually want to talk about, Rick?
no, just what we're figured out yesterday with the gentleman's CS3
Great. Okay.
icons.
Yeah. So we can get into that. Let me do a quick scan of the chat window, see if anybody's thrown in the chat. Okay. So what we'll do is
you can probably kill your iPad, disconnect it so that we're not staring at an extra window.
Okay.
If you want.
So yeah. So I'll be leaving the iPad out. Okay, so that is done. Let me go back to the VNC viewer and we're going to actually change. So I'll close this out because we don't need this window. Actually, you guys aren't seeing it. So I'll share screens. All right, so now we're gonna actually, we actually have a user who's loaded up a number of turnouts and signal lights, and he ran across a problem. He's using signal lights that he's got home signals that share a distance signal. In other words, the distance signal is on the same mast as the home signal. So I'm waiting for the unit to start. Oh, one thing that I should kind of mention first, and I did kind of forget. When you go to your screen, and let me share this screen first so I can show it really quickly here. Okay, so when you go to your browser and you type in your number, 68, no, we're going to use this one here, 155. Whoops. 155, and let's say you don't get a response. What you could do, and I kind of found out it kind of works one way or the other, is you need to make sure that you have track power on at first. After boot up, it starts up in the stop mode, and the browser wasn't responding. It wasn't allowing me to start the server. and I just realized it needed to be triggered. I had to kind of open up the CS3, give it track power before I got to these pages. So if you run into that problem, just release the stop bar and supply power to the track, and that might actually get you to this interface.
I don't have that problem. Mine is working.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It didn't happen now, but it happened this
Right.
morning when
I can see where it would occasionally happen.
Yeah. So again, if it doesn't seem to identify the IP number, just give power to the track, and put your CS3 in sort of active mode there. So I'm going to start up the server. Okay, that's why I wasn't connecting using VNC. So I can go ahead and close this, go to the VNC viewer, share screen.
We're seeing your YouTube screen.
Yeah, I was just changing the share screen. I can click on this because it's already sort of, you see how 125 is now in my sort of viewed list. So I'm going to click on 55. And it opens up my window. We will share that screen. So this is the CS3 that we are talking about now. This is his article list. You can see at the bottom here, if you guys are not really familiar with the interface, he's got 3 pages of information here, and that's with these little ovals, or they're not ellipses, are they? Are these ellipses technically? I forget what they're called.
I guess.
Yeah.
At
the bottom,
round cornered ovals. How's that?
Yeah. Or rounded cornered rectangles.
Rectangles.
Yeah. We can spend 10 minutes on this, guys, if you really want to hear that. But
I got to go back to kindergarten and brush up. Apparently, the shapes.
So there are 3 pages, which basically, it's just like the more you have, the more these are going to get filled up. And it's like if we scroll this up, let's see if we can scroll it up. You can see how the number of pages icons kind of increase because we're displaying less on the screen. So you just be aware if you're missing items and you can't figure out where they are, check down here to see if you have more pages that you aren't viewing. So we're going to blow it up here, go full screen. And because we're actually going to start dealing with the signals alone, I am going to just select a filter view and only display the signals alone. Okay. Now this is where things get interesting, and it really kind of raised a question. The way that the signals and the distance signals, when they're all sharing a mast, work is that, and these are MFX signals, you can tell by the M's up here in the upper left corner. You're basically, when you assign an address to these signals, you're assigning the address to the home signal. So this is 100. The nomenclature that this gentleman used here, and we had a discussion with him on this, and just kind of say, okay, there's a way to make it clear. So if you look at the way these are numbered now, we have a home signal, which is 105. And technically, the shared mast is going to be 106.
It's a distance signal.
It's a distance signal. Yeah, these are on the same mast. Now the thing is, when I received this, there was really no indication on whether or not this distance signal is paired with the 106. In other words, these were both sharing the mast. They were both for 106. The way that we had to just clarify it was basically this is 106 distance is on the same mast as 105 because 106 needs to be consecutive. In other words, for this type of signal, you address the item at 105, for instance, and the distance signal is going to be controlled by 106, address 106. So this distance signal is controlled by this device. But without really knowing that, it was hard to tell if he was using these two as a pair as opposed to these two on the same mast. So in my discussion with him, I said, well, you might want to rename it so it's a little clearer. And what I did was I actually used this convention here. I gave it two numbers. It was basically 100 and 101. And 100 would basically tell me it's addressed on the same mass as 100, but it's controlled by 101. So just kind of think about that. Now we're going to kind of address sort of an issue that this gentleman had. Essentially, the way that these work is that you have, first of all, you have these two on the shared mast, and 101 controls the distance signal, and I can show you that here. So you can't do it when you're in stop mode. Okay, and you see how it changes addresses. Now you guys have probably seen it if you're paying attention. You notice how 102 has disappeared. And this was kind of an interesting thing because he wrote to us and he goes, I have icons that are disappearing. I couldn't understand basically what was going on. I said, send me your file. I need to evaluate and see what's going on. So here you can see 101 is controlling the distance signal correctly. Okay, you have two aspects on the home signal, and it controls the two aspects on the distance signal. Now, it's interesting, why is it affecting 102? Well, we'll get to that in a second. The other issue that we had was that when you select on the distance, so let me backtrack just a little bit. We're using the home signal to control the distance signal. I am clicking on the home signal as it normally would operate. But there's flexibility in here where you can actually go to the distance signal and actually select the aspect and control the home signal. You see how that works. Now, the first problem is that this distance signal also has a prepare to proceed slowly. Your two aspects here are, I think this is stop, prepare to stop. The middle one is proceed slowly, and
prepare to proceed.
Yeah, prepare to proceed. And this one here is actually prepare to proceed slowly. Yep. Okay, now it's got three aspects, but our home signal only has two aspects. So if I clicked on this, well, again, this is inconsistent.
It's not changing.
Yeah, we've had one, nothing's happening here, right? Let's change this out and see if we can change this. So yeah, the behavior on this was really kind of anomalous. I mean, I've had it react in three different ways, but there occasionally when we hit the slow down button, his icons would disappear. We couldn't figure out why are these icons disappearing. And here's a real good case in point here. This one now is proceed slowly, and all I'm doing is I'm clicking the home signal. Okay, if I click on this, goes to green, and this one's got that proceed slowly, and this icon is still gone, but it may return here. That's because we're trying to control this dual control. In other words, the home signal controlling the distance signal works well because it's only got two aspects. But when you have a signal that's three aspects, it was creating a request to move this icon to an aspect that didn't match. Okay, so in other words, this does not exist because it's only a two-way home signal. Here we have a three-way home signal, which it would probably work that way, but this signal didn't work. So this was kind of causing this weird, like, what's going on here? Like, I just clicked on this home signal, which is only supposed to control this distance signal, but it affected the distance signal on its own mass. So we couldn't figure out what's going on there. So what we kind of realized there is that we had to figure out the addressing scheme, and then Rick kind of brought to my attention here that we need to go into the article, edit article list. And unfortunately, I can't really do this live because I don't actually have these items, and you know, this isn't my layout plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to filter out to only view the signals by themselves. And it may actually, Rick, can you maybe pull up the manual for this online, and then we can show the screenshot for that? Okay, so essentially what we're going to do is, like, if
yes,
yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah. So the thing is, what we want to do is we want to do, shoot, I mean, it might even be better if I did it because I'm kind of on the same. Usually you want to go to the configuration button, which is this lower right button here, and we need to access the CV values. Or we need to reconfigure this. And I can't really do it because, again, I don't have these devices connected to this CS3. So let's kind of go. Let me know if you have that up. I can pull it up too.
76495, I think will work.
Yeah.
Yes, MFX.
Yeah, it's a 400 series signal.
Yes. I do have the manual. Let me find that page.
And let me look at some of these questions.
Okay, I got the page up. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just go ahead. Go ahead and you have it up. Go ahead and share it.
Okay. So what we noticed was because basically in his CVs or the likes of in the Marklin shell in the central station, he has his either his icon incorrect for number 45 here, which I think that's probably correct because it is MFX. But the signal type distance signal, number 46, he has incorrect. And most likely he has to change them to a, when it says belongs to on the right, to a block signal.
And that's a two aspect.
That's for the 2 aspect signal. The 3 aspect signal will be the entry signal. And then the 5 aspect signal will be the exit signal. And those have to be configured correctly so that the CS3 knows what icon to put up when you click on it to change it, and also what it will change, what signal. Well, when you click on those aspects, it has to be correct to the signal that it's attached to. So otherwise it's going to go blank because it doesn't know. It's trying to change to an icon that it's incapable of changing to, is what the problem is. That's why it disappears.
Yeah, it doesn't have a match. Basically.
Yes. So most likely CV46 needs to be changed to the correct type of distance signal he has.
Did we talk about 45? I forget. Is 45 the mast, the signal, the home signal that's attached to the same mast, or is that
Yes.
That's not the controlling home signal.
No, it's signal. CV45 is the type of signal it is. Block signal, entry signal, exit signal, and that needs to be correct also. Otherwise, it won't light sometimes, if at all. But normally with MFX signals, they know what type of mast they are, so, or signal head they are, so those are usually correct, but you should double check it. But the distance signal is most likely what's wrong with his layout, not making the signals disappear.
Yeah, so I think again there's a little bit of speculation on our part because unfortunately I have older series digital signal lights that don't use these setups, and
without having the signal connected to our central station, there's no way we can access the CVs to show you. So
now Sean asked a question: what does the SB in the lower right icon? That's a good question.
We don't know. That's just his
No, he's actually talking about this circular dot that says SB.
They're all on distance signals.
Yeah, they all seem to be on the distance signal, so there's got to be some significance to that. There is a little bit of confusion here on this screen too, because again, so let's kind of look at this. If I select the first icon, this mask is addressed as 100, and therefore the distance signal needs to be controlled by address 101. And this is kind of interesting because this was sort of a software change. You can see how the address here in the bottom is red, and that's because the controlling mast has to be the same address. So whether or not this is sort of a graphic issue that needs to be addressed, it's showing that you have two devices under address 101. Which is, generally can create a conflict. I'm not too sure how that's addressed software wise. The other issue here is that when you have a distance signal, they've included this area where you can actually assign sort of the home signal, and I believe it's the controlling home signal. But in sort of, at least in the software base on an unconnected device, it probably has to be evaluated further because I couldn't really quite tell what was actually assigning the control. So like, let's change this to 105, and I'll click OK. So 105 is right there. So the thing is, if the one I just changed was this one, if I change 105, it doesn't really control the 101 signal.
It's not in sequential order.
Yeah. So there's so maybe it's locked out. Let's get this out of. The other thing here is that when you go into stop mode, it is normal for this to show as shut off, and then again it affected this home signal because there is no match for this signal for this, because again we only have two aspects on this, right? So I can control it this way. Even though I assigned a home signal to that, it doesn't seem to control that. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on at this point without sort of further exploration. There's probably some know-it-all out there who's got an answer for me. So,
It has to do with the distance signal being
oh, actually, did I have it assigned to the? No, that's right. So yeah,
being programmed to the wrong type
Yeah.
of signal.
Yeah, so I assigned it, I assigned this home signal, not exactly sure how this needs to be applied. So I'll just put it as no signal. Just kind of giving you guys sort of full disclosure on this stuff. All right, so I think that's probably, something that if you guys have those signals and you're setting it up and you get this weird anomalous behavior, that's primarily the reason that we can glean from it. Okay. Should we, let's see. Should we look at the Q&A here? Let's see, we have one question. We have a gentleman, he's done all the previous recommended email instructions, but still have no IP on the CS3. Anything else you can do? There, at this point, when you are not getting any IP numbers or any IP information on your CS3, you go into troubleshooting mode. Okay. I know some person has had sort of like this little known router that wasn't sending or connecting to a CS3. So I don't know if it was a router issue for him. He had some specific brand router. I don't know what it was. I'd never heard of it, but it was sort of, it kind of be like, it was a proprietary router. It would not send an IP number out to him, no matter what we did. The other thing is whether or not you're connected to the correct port. Now, once again, you probably know this because you said it is. Over here, you need to avoid the WAN port. You need to make sure you plug it into an LAN port or one of these four. It should say LAN, and you just plug into that. Sometimes if you have like a mesh network, only has 2 plugs, so you're going to plug it into one of those and it'll work. But you cannot plug it into the WAN port. It will not connect. How these things work is that when a device is connected to it, it generally, like the CS3 for instance, it sends a request to this device saying, hey, I'm connected. This then sends an IP number out. So if you are not getting an IP number, then you also have to consider that maybe you have a cable or your plug in the jacks and one or the other is not working. I can't tell you whether or not you have a warranty issue on your CS3 because there are these various components. The only way that sometimes you test these out is to swap out equipment. There are only 3 points of contact: a router, a cable to your CS3, and the CS3 itself. If you can swap out the cable and you still get nothing, or you can use that cable to connect it to your PC and it works, then you know your cable's good. If you can connect a router to something else that you know you can connect to, and your router's not connecting, then you're generally, I would say your router is good. But again, we have guys who have these weird proprietary routers that they can connect to their PC, but the IP numbers on it sometimes are so foreign. Like rather than starting with like a standard 192 number, it starts with a 10, and those sometimes are specific to like some internet supply companies, and they've actually locked out and they don't actually go to the CS3. What you can do too is if you've got anybody else that you know with like a RailNet system or like some train guys who are connected to a network, ask if you can plug your CS3 into their network. Again, power up the CS3 second. These get powered up first. If you plug in the CS3 first, it's not going to work. But yeah, I can't tell you what's going on behind that troubleshooting mode. It will certainly help if you can have somebody, or you can bring your CS3 to somebody and see if they can connect to their network. Then you can at least troubleshoot to know if it's the CS3 or if maybe you got something weird going on with your setup at home. Let's see. I tried using the web browser control panel to manually start an event using my phone. It still will not work for you. Will it work for you? Yes, this stuff works. I've connected to my iPad, so it's going to work on my phone. But let's find out. I'll check it out here. You do have to be sure. Okay, so one thing about your phone, guys, when you're connecting your phone, and if you're using your CS3 on an independent network, in other words, it's not connected to your home network, your phone is used to connecting your home network. So it's not going to connect to that new router that you connect to your CS3. You're going to have to go to your, I gotta look it. Come on. You have to go to your setups and you got to go through your network connection, right? And you're going to have to change whatever network you're on if you're connected to the wrong network. So double check that, because that's going to prevent you from accessing it. But let me see if I can actually connect. Dead airspace. Okay, so I have a screen here. I'm actually connecting to the point where I can click my OKs, go through the license agreements. And let's click the control button. Give it a check. All right, so there you can see it's actually connected to my CS3 here.
Can you start an event?
It's got teeny tiny windows. Yeah, the scrolling on this is just like, hang on. I don't like using a.
Yeah, I don't like using the phone because it's so small. I like a tablet better.
Okay, so let's see. I'm using the computer. I'm using the CSC. So there I have. I actually have access. Okay, so yeah, it is working. Firewalls on the router. Yes, it could be a firewall issue. Again, guys, we're not IT experts here, so I can't really answer all these IT questions. But check with them. A firewall could block it out. Not sure, but yeah, it kind of functions. All right. These are good questions, guys. We just kind of every once in a while they're repeated. We get a lot of them, frankly. Let's see. Multiple windows to operate the layout. How can you open multiple windows to operate the layout? One for locos and another for turnouts. That's a good question. I think with the current software, I don't think we are actually able to open up multiple windows. The old iPad, the main station app, was kind of nice in that way that you can actually subdivide your screen into panels, and you can separate panels. Let me open one up on screen here on the PC screen, and let's explore that a little bit. See. So essentially, when you're using the browser interface, you really are only able to share what's actually on the PC screen. I don't recall if there's any way to have multiple instances. So let's actually let me load up a different profile. Let's load up the layout here. Let's see, we'll use this one here. Yeah, unfortunately, having multiple instances, I mean, I can try it with VNC Viewer, but I don't think it works that way. It just kind of it just reverts me back to the same window. So yeah, multiple screens. There is like in the Marklin digital book on how to use the CS3. It kind of shows some, I think, to my eyes, some misleading displays. Where they have all kinds of things open up here. I haven't found a way to actually kind of mimic some of that stuff, especially turnouts. Turnouts like this, if you want to do search, it really is sort of preferential on how you want to display this stuff. And I know the user who's sort of asking this question. I think he kind of needs this rather than the track plan stuff. Usually when I'm operating turntables, I prefer to operate in the layout because then I kind of know exactly which one I'm dealing with rather than having to hunt through my sort of nomenclature codes to figure out which turnouts I need to turn on or off. But yeah, as far as being able to have multiple screens, maybe if anything you could do, I think what I did was when I had the browser window up here, 2.168.1.55. So that's what I did here. I can kind of show you right here. Really might be interesting. One way to do it. Let me show my entire desktop here. Oh, let me share. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, let's use this one here. So you guys can see the top screen here. So maybe this is one way you can do it. It's sort of a hack way to do it, but if it gives you what you want, maybe that's one way to do it. I'm using the VNC viewer on the right-hand side, and I'm using the control window from the web browser on the left-hand side.
And that would be two web pages.
Yeah. Let's see if we can actually open up two different web pages. So 0.55. Let's try this.
Yeah.
Control second window and drag that window out. And there you go, guys. There's one way. There's another way to do it. You just open up multiple web pages and you kind of separate out and see if we can get two different sets of information, or if it just mimics one. So you can do this until your system crashes. How's that? So there you go. Question answered. You've challenged us, and we were not stumped. So, all right. Okay, so we have a person who has access to the CS3, but his events do not work.
He's the one who was talking about on his phone.
Yeah. So that's kind of a tricky question. You're trying to activate events through the phone. It should be the same through the web browser. Let me go to the. Okay, so let's close this out. We're gonna focus on. Okay, we're gonna actually focus on the layout in the other room. And let me just go to sharing the window rather than the entire desktop here. See if I'm doing this right. Okay. So let's look at the layout here. And if anything I can do through the browser, you should be able to do for the phone. I couldn't tell you if it doesn't work. I can't really tell you why. Essentially, because you're always sending commands out through the network. Okay. So let's make sure I don't have trains running. Okay, let's kill speed on everything here. I'd rather do this when I'm not running trains because I can't see the trains.
Now they're going to crash because you reversed half of them.
Stop, reverse, yeah. Okay, so these are all in the layout. Okay. So essentially what the question is, can you activate events? You know, most of my events are auto controlled, but I can still control them using this controller. Okay, so essentially if I activate K1 here on the right, it should change these turnouts here to reroute to the empty track.
It's already going that way.
No, it wasn't. So stage T1 was out.
That one wasn't.
Okay. So I'm able to activate my events using the contact triggers. So when the train arrives here, okay, that should be stopped. Okay, so that's kind of working. We're going to vacate that train. It should activate this, and all our stop sections should go red, as it does here. So my events are triggering through the browser. I don't know why you would have trouble doing that on your events on your phone. I can try it on my phone to verify. One, 9, 2. Go. All right, let me get through the license agreements. And all right, my phone's connecting, and I will activate. Let me deactivate K1 here. So it is connecting. Still connecting. Hang on.
You have a slow phone.
Well, you know, I got tons of windows open. Let me close this. Still trying to connect.
Okay, well, moving on.
Yeah, you can ask. We can answer other questions while we wait for this. Yeah, you can use a cheap Android, any tablet that you have, as long as it has a web browser. I mean, the only hits you're going to take as far as using older equipment is it may be a little slower, and that's just the device. It's not the router. You can use any sort of cheap wireless router or used wireless router. It's going to work fine. Because you know, frankly, the CS3 isn't. You know, it's not meant or needed to be high speed. All right. And okay, so one actually is clicking on the events window rather than in the. So we'll do that. Let's go to contacts viewed. Just hide these. Okay, and K10 is the one I'm interested in. There it activates in the events window. So there you go, and at least that's through the browser. I can't really attest to how well the phone works on the system. I don't usually use the phone again because it's small, and maybe connected to the wrong network. Shouldn't be. No, should access it. So the thing is, it might actually sort of be the phone interface. I'm gonna actually try it on my iPad too.
Well, good, because that didn't take long enough.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, it's not connected. So I can't help that if it's not connecting on my phone. I mean, talk to your phone service provider, right? Okay, so I'm on my iPad, and let me pull down the menu for events. Show S88. So that worked lovely. All right. And I know you guys can't see this, but
While he's twiddling with his iPad, if anybody has any questions, you can type them in or raise your hand if you want to speak.
that is funny. It just, yeah. Where's the refresh? Give me page refresh.
My guess is if it worked on your phone, it'll work on your iPad.
We're kind of living in an ideal world, right? I mean, obviously, theoretically, we could be having these issues. All right. So I have it displayed on my iPad. I'm going to turn off K1.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to activate K61 there in the middle, the gray icon, and that should release one of the brake modules. It should release the staging brake on stage 3. So that is K61. And there you go. Yeah, so it's working through the iPad. Can't really tell you how it's going to work on the phone since mine is still trying to connect. So I don't necessarily, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to blame the CS3 for this? I just can't really say what's going on. It could be the software on the phone. It could be the way the phone interacts to that work.
I think it's
I'm
all
sure
your,
that's not really the answer you want to hear, but it's kind of what it is.
it's all Curtis's fault. Direct all emails to him.
Send all your complaints to me. Yeah, frankly, I've got access to the tablet, but I have it does not want to connect to the phone. So then it might be maybe a phone browser issue. Let's see.
Are you done sharing your screen now?
Yes, I am. We can stop that. Sorry. I will toy around with this to see if we get connected. Any other questions? Any comments?
No, I mean, been answering them as we go here. So
Yeah, we've got nothing on the nothing on YouTube. So yeah, it is a little imperfect. Sorry, guys. If we can't give you a satisfactory, I'm just waiting for this thing to connect, and it's not. Anything else we care to talk about? We do maybe have a little bit of a note regarding the turntable. Are you guys? I'm sure we've actually had a lot of questions. We've had a few calls about the turntable.
yes,
Our recent newsletter article did kind of cover at least the hardware installation. We didn't really quite cover the software, and there's sort of background reasons for that. But we do. Let's see. Let me load the profile for this. I'm just going to halt this because that's not, it's just going to be frustrating me. Let's go to the system. Let's go to control. And I'm just kind of getting this set up here. See if I have that. While you guys type in questions.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot now. We were taking a lot of them at first.
Stopping the CS3 server. Okay, so that's good. Let me go back to my VNC viewer. Still running? Okay, still running here. Good. Let's change. I'm going to reload a profile here. Okay, control, counter control. Where is it? Oh, here it is. All right, let's share this a little bit about the turntable. Gleistrek Enterprise. All right, so essentially your software, when you load your turntable up, and my turntable is not connected to it, we do have sort of, when we're going to go to the edit article list, and we're going to actually look at the turntable and a couple of issues here. So one, the turntable, when we open up the turntable, let me get this menu out of the way, guys. Here they go. And oh, we might not be able to do that. Okay, essentially when you do this, when you first install your turntable, there was quite a few questions about indexing. And what I mean by that is getting to whatever your track layout is, having a proper assignment to what is track 1. And what I found is what the first thing you want to do, I mean, the manual is a little vague on that. And we're trying to get a little bit of correction on that. But you can set your track 1 setting. Supposedly it's going to be wherever your track bed is laid out. You can set track 1 setting. You can assign it using the N button here, or you click on that. You click track 1 setting. Forgive me for stuttering on this one. You click track 1 setting, and then you select the track number. This is where you would select the track number you want to be the sort of index track, and you click N. I did this the first time I installed it. It was kind of confusing because it didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. So what I ended up doing was I ended up deleting the turntable from the layout. And again, when you delete an MFX item from a CS3, make sure you have track power applied before you delete it. You want power to the track when you're deleting MFX devices. That way you clear out any kind of handshake issues. And I won't explain that again at this point. But when you reinstall, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to manually track 1 setting. You click on that, and then this icon here, you would click on this, and what this does is it releases the locking mechanism so that you can freely rotate the turntable. You do not want to rotate the track bed while it's locked. That's just going to cause some weird damage, and it's just not wise. So click on this, and then you can manually rotate it. And you want to rotate the cab end of the track bed, because that's where the optical sensor is, and you want to place it under what you want to be track 1. The one confusing thing is you just have this icon, and all it does is it goes from like a non-grade green to a regular sort of green and gray. And I kind of found it confusing because I couldn't really quite tell sometimes the hue if it changed or it relocked itself. There was no indication that the turntable will just relock itself, and it really doesn't say it's relocked. So watch out for that. Just know that when you click on it once, it's going to unlock. And I don't know what the time limit is while it stays unlocked or how long you can move it. There's no indication for that. Once you index it to the track 1, then you start your turntable initialization. your turntable is then going to circle around 360 degrees, and hopefully all your numbers are in the right place. So definitely try that. I can't access the configuration tab right now is sort of basic. It really doesn't give you access to CV values. I don't know if that's intentional. I've noticed it on a couple of MFX devices, so just kind of be forewarned on that. Let's see what else we can do. Okay, so one other thing, we'll get out of that, and that's when you edit this mode. The other issue that you may run into across, and let me show you what I mean. I'm going to edit the trackboard page. I'm going to actually delete the turntable for you guys here, right? So when you add the turntable, you're going to use sort of the pull-out method from your article list. Okay, so here we have your turntable here. When you first click on this, it's actually going to open up the control panel. You see, and if you release this, it's not actually going to place the turntable on here. So what you want to do is you actually want to drag it around, and if you notice, if I take the cursor and I move it out there, there's where your turntable is, and it's just going to place it. So you can't really correctly place it once you're dragging it out. Just release the mouse and then it gets put in the layout page. You can hide that, and now you can sort of maneuver your turntable around. Your inner circle has that's where your hold that. That's where you can rotate the page. Now, the way that kind of turntable is, you have 30 spokes, and I found that it's more or less, you see how 1 and 16 are aligned perfectly vertical, but you do not have a perfect horizontal alignment. Okay, and you know, when you do your rotations, see if I can actually do it. It's a little slow when we're actually trying to rotate on the PC. So I like to go as far away, creating larger, more subtle movements. And even if I try to align these things up perfectly horizontal, it shifts a little bit. Actually, that was probably as close as I was ever going to get. So let's see if I can do that again.
270 is what you want.
Yeah. And release. Let me see. In my gridlock, yeah. So for some reason, one time I had trouble getting it to line up horizontally, and you can see now, even though I'm lined up horizontally, it doesn't line up vertically, and that could actually be. And I think the reason is, it's how you index the track. So in actually this layout example, my alignment was off because my index 1 was basically somewhere like around here. So what that does is, what I was trying to get horizontal, and I'm just realizing this now, is I was trying to make this like this portion aligned on my horizontal and vertical, and whereas the 1, it's easier. So if you can't get it lined up right, it could be your alignment index. I don't know if that made sense to you guys. Just basically where I was trying to line up the track was in, sorry, I'm just trying to get that back to where I need it. Being OCD on this one, right? Okay, so there's one, what I was trying to align was, I was trying to align this gap on the horizontal axis. So yeah, just if you have trouble with that. Now, to connect tracks, for those who are not familiar, you select on the grab handles, and you're, whoops, well, it created that's a new feature, just automatically loaded a track route for me. So let's get rid of that. Go away. Oh, use the delete button. Yes. Unless I had one there before. You just grab that grab handle, and whatever highlights is where it's going to attach to. So just be mindful of that. You know, if you're trying to get to 13 and you stop here and release, it's going to connect to the wrong track. Okay. All right. So yeah, those are the things to kind of be aware of with the turntable installation, especially if you're trying to index track 1. Yeah, I had 3 tracks on these 3 spurs, and when I put 1 down here on this connection rather than where 30 is, I couldn't get, it was creating a gap where I needed these to be, because I needed perfect alignment here. So That's that. Let's go to some questions here because I see a number of them have piled up. Let's see. Okay, so the other thing about the turntable, guys, is the turntable itself has the optical sensor under the cab end of the track bed, and on the opposite end is actually the locking mechanism. So that retracts when the turntable needs to rotate, and when it reaches its index point, it extends out there. We have sort of seen reports that guys are talking about, it's like, oh, there's less than a millimeter clearance between the optical sensor, and that the tongues were being sort of knocked out of place. Well, yeah, be careful about those indexing fingers. Make sure they're inserted properly, but you do have a little bit more clearance. I measured, I think, roughly about 2.5 to 3 millimeter gap, and those fingers are not really deeper than 1 millimeter, so you have a little more clearance. Most likely, if it does bind on the edge because your surface is uneven, it could possibly be the locking arm is just the tolerance might be a little tight, so it could be rubbing against one of the spurs. And again, that's opposite of the turntable bed. When I did the installation in the digital newsletter article, yeah, occasionally it would get caught up on one of those and just took a nudge. It just needs to kind of be properly aligned. So
A little tune-up you have to do to get it to work perfectly.
Yeah.
Being there's so many segments on there.
Old question from my little 4x8 Max loco 2 loco layout. Do I really need a CS3, CS3 plus? No, not really. It really does. You do have, whether or not you want them or not. A CS3 is going to be helpful if you want to automate stuff on your layout. But if you're just really just manually controlling everything, Mobile Station 2 is sufficient.
Yeah, it's up to you whether you want to do it. I mean, if is he just using a mobile station now, or is he using a CS2? You can. I did an article on doing some routing with them, even though you have a mobile station. So I mean, if you wanted to do a little bit of routing, you can. On a 4x8, you should be fine without a central station.
Yeah, I mean, you have benefits on the CS3, but whether or not they outweigh your needs, I mean, you can't connect to a mobile station wirelessly. You can't add boosters to a mobile station. It's just those things. It's just growth in what your requirements are going to be.
Yeah.
We do have
from John. We got any thoughts on using the basically the 55017 RC3 radio handheld control? That is, they've stopped development on that, so that is not going to be released. So we don't even have one. Apparently they were just having too many troubles with it, and so no, we don't have an opinion on it. We don't have one.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can get the sort of the mobile wireless controller to work for you the way we've done here. But
Yeah.
Obviously, I think we do have some viewers who were having some kind of issues going on there.
I think a tablet is more useful and you have more features on it than that handheld controller was going to give you. And Phil's asking if I can turn on my Christmas tree. As much as I like turning on the Christmas tree just to show Curtis, I don't have it connected. And I don't have this CS3 connected to my network right now. So it's the only one that Christmas tree is on, so I can't connect that. Look forward to Christmas time. Or, let's see, September. No, September's too early for Christmas. So next couple months maybe. Just to show Curtis my Christmas tree.
Yeah. Do you know what? You should have just told them you have your tree in storage and you're not going to pull it out.
Yeah, all the Christmas ornaments are put away right now. If it was up to my wife, they'd come out in July.
We'll have her talk to you about that. All right.
Well, hour and a half here. I think we're half hour over our time now.
That about covers it. We will. If you do have any last minute questions, but we do appreciate you joining in on us, and hopefully
Yeah.
you got some fun information out of it.
Or if you want to raise your hand to speak.
Yeah, the other benefit of this is again we now we have somewhere to point when somebody needs to connect to their CS3.
Okay.
All right, so you guys have been great. You've had a lot of questions. Rick's actually taking care of a lot of the answering while I was yammering on.
If there's somebody that yammers, that's you.
Yeah, there you go. You get to look forward to that. Cool. Anyways, well, that was a lot of that was a lot. We covered a lot. The turntable issue,
Signals.
the signals, that was a big one that we kind of felt every once in a while, we discover stuff ourselves, and definitely like the interface changed from the control window.
Yeah, we don't get we don't get training brochures or anything from the factory. All this stuff we have to figure out ourselves, just like you guys do. So if you can bear with us if we don't exactly have the answer, we try and figure it out for you.
But anyways, if you guys, anybody last call, if you've got anything you'd like to sort of comment on or let us know, chime in. Otherwise, we appreciate it again, that your visits and your viewership, and appreciation. Thank you, Per. Thanks for sending in. Yeah, no, no problem, Phil. Event questions are always challenging. We'd rather sort of show how to do things events, but when things are not connecting, it gets frustrating for us too. So yeah, I wish the phone was an easier thing to answer for you, but wasn't connecting.
Yeah, it's tough for us to recreate users' problems here. We tried, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, trying to figure out the signal problem just by a text message, or I mean, an email, was difficult enough as it was. I mean, literally having to say, "Hey, send me a backup file. I'll look it over," which took a while in itself. So, but anyways, that's it. I think that it will be a wrap again. Next month, I don't think we have anything particularly unscheduled. Hopefully we'll be able to maybe talk more about the turntable, or at least do more of an introduction to it, or show it in action. Check out the digital newsletter if you haven't read it yet. I do have pictures of the track module that we used for a local show here. Okay.
All right.
Then that should be it. We're signing off. See you guys